YouTube fans, and welcome back to another episode of Creative Writing Advice. If you don't know me, I'm JJ. I am the author of How to Write a Story, which is available now on Amazon. I also have other books out and a film and a TV show in production. I have a writing advice blog, and I'm over here on YouTube bringing you writing advice that I hope will make you a better and more confident writer. So if you're not familiar with this series, what I tend to do is take a writing idea, a story structure advice, something about characterization, a technique, anything I can that is really useful and can help you develop your story. Then I do a deep dive on it. I reference pop culture, films, books, TV shows, hopefully things that you know and love. And I try and grow them as ideas that you can use and reference them in a way that you'll be able to take and put into your own story. So today what I'm going to be talking about is writing sacrifice. Now, this isn't necessarily physical sacrifice where somebody is killed. This is where your character has to make a choice. What do they want most? And if they want two things that are in conflict with each other, you need to crash those two things together and make them pick. Because when we are forced to choose between two things we want, then our truth comes out. Because the truth of who you are really is in what you want, because that is what drives you, that is your motivation. So if you have a character who wants two things, say one is good and one is bad, which direction they go in will tell you a lot about who that person is. And it's really good for your story because you want to have as much conflict in your story as possible, because conflict is what keeps your story moving, it's what keeps your story interesting and alive. So if you whack some internal conflict into your protagonist or your antagonist and make them make a decision between good and bad, or any two things really, you will have some interesting character development and it's entertaining. So a really good example that is very clear, like to the point of almost being like a blunt instrument of this, is Thanos in Infinity War. In Infinity War, Thanos is driven to get all of the Infinity Stones for his little gold glove. And he wants the Soul Stone. But he is told to get the Soul Stone, he has to sacrifice somebody he loves. And what he wants in life has always been to have a beautiful and loving father-daughter relationship with Gamora. So what does he want more? Does he want the Soul Stone and to conquer the universe and do his click? Or does he want the relationship with the woman he considers to be his child? Now, we all know what happens, so this is spoilery, but if you haven't seen it, you're probably not going to. So he chooses to sacrifice Gamora, throw her off the cliff and allow her to die so he can get the Soul Stone. That tells you the truth of Thanos. In that moment, you know that Thanos will stop at nothing to get what he wants, because the only two things he wants in that life are to do the click with the golden glove and Gamora. And he made his choice. You see it exactly in that moment. Now, you don't necessarily want to do something quite so heavy-handed, but it can be done in so many different ways. So, for instance, imagine you have a character who wants to go to a party, and she wants to go to a party and meet a boy that she's in love with, and that motivates her and drives her. But she also has a parent at home who is sick and wants her to stay and look after her. Now, that gives your character two choices. She either sacrifices going to the party and chooses to look after her mother, or she sacrifices the well-being of her mother in order to go to the party. Now, in that moment, you are going to want to have a little explore and think, because if your character sacrifices the party, the consequences of that are that perhaps the boy she's in love with will go off with somebody else. Not massive consequences, because there's always another boy. But if she sacrifices the well-being of her parent, that is when you can start to really layer on some pain for your character. Because if that parent then dies, because your character, this is extreme, so you don't have to do this, but if the parent then dies because they were left alone because she wanted to go to the party, the ongoing ramifications of that sacrifice are brutal. Brutal. So, if you made a decision like that, like Thanos has to live with the fact that he kills Gamora. If your character has to live with the fact something terrible, not necessarily death, but something terrible happens to the person they leave behind, you then have got incredible story conflict to mine, and you can really run with that, and there's a lot you can do. It could be something less brutal, as I say. You'll see it in stories where a character has to choose whether they want a career or a family, or they want a relationship or to travel. It happens quite a lot. You end up deciding between two things you really, really want and sacrificing one of them. And it's a really genuinely interesting thing to play with in your story, because you are forcing the truth out of that character, and the ugly truth a lot of the time. And where there is ugly truth, there is painful consequences. And giving your protagonist pain that they then have to carry and deal with, learn from, improve, try and make amends for, it'll keep your story fueled, because that is so much to explore and so much to investigate. And it's a really interesting thing to do. So I am a big fan of this technique in story. I think it is a really good thing. In Emerald, Wren and the Coven of Seven, I want to talk about this without spoiling it. So I'm going to try. In Emerald, Wren and the Coven of Seven, the book I wrote, my third book, Emerald's best friend is a genie. And Emerald wants to save her, because in my world, a genie's life is a brutal one. A genie is essentially a slave. They are trafficked from owner to owner, and because this genie is female, she gets male owners who are her master, and she is trapped with them until her 3 wishes are used up, and she is their slave. And it is an unpleasant existence. So Emerald wants to try and save her. However, there is also things happening in the world that wishes would be useful for. And if Emerald uses up all the 3 wishes that the genie has, the genie will be back in the bottle and sent off to a new master who might not be a kind and human, caring person like Emerald. So then she has to make decisions. Is she going to use the wishes and sacrifice her friend? Or is she going to save her friend and sacrifice other circumstances that occur in the book? And again, it's a brutal pick, because she knows the life that her friend will be sacrificed to if she uses those 3 wishes. And she knows what will happen if she doesn't use them, and who else is going to suffer. So I'm not going to go too much into it, because I'm really proud of that book, because I think it's a really good book. I wrote it. I can't really say that, can I? I'm being a bit of a knob. But I do think it's a good book. I'm proud of that book, and I love the use of sacrifice in it, because it forces Emerald into a position where she has to make a painful, really unpleasant choice and live with the consequences of it. So that is why I used it. That is how you can use it, and that is how it has been used by other people. So thank you very much for watching another one of my videos. I hope this has been helpful. Comment below with some ideas you have. Maybe you're using sacrifice in your story, or you're inspired to use sacrifice in your story. Or perhaps you have a favourite book, film, TV show where sacrifice like this features heavily in it, and what is done. How does it feature? What have you learned from it? And what can we all learn from seeing that ourselves, and what we can use it in our own work? So comment below and let me know. Also, if you can subscribe to this channel, I am putting out a video every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, hoping to help make you a better and more confident writer. Come find me on social media. My website, jjbarnes.co.uk, has links to everything that I have done, including that book, Emerald, Wren and the Coven of Seven, as well as my writing blog and everything else I'm doing. But yeah, come find me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Over there, I'm always talking about writing. I get very excited hearing about other people's work too. Find me, chat to me, and we can all grow and become better writers all together. So that would be a lovely thing for me. Thank you very much, and I will be back again soon. Bye.